Cathy's dad used to say it all the time, and he was spot on. Is that it was like she had personality of Elvis Presley. I mean, just people were drawn to her.
Yeah.
And I think you really see that back. You see that when she passed away. How many people were drawn to her?
Yeah.
It was crazy. Her the funeral home was just, it was wrapped through the building. Seemed like hundreds of times. It was nowhere to stand, nowhere to move. They was wrapped around the building. All the people that came. It's like, I did not know she knew that many people.
Wow.
But it's just that many people that she had touched, that, no matter what she was doing, she was touching people. We would, I know a lot of people in Athens, myself, so does Cathy, but we'd take her out and we'd have people run up and want to talk to Kyla because they saw her at school, or they saw her here, or they knew her for from ESP or something of that nature. Everybody wanted to be around her, and little girl couldn't talk, couldn't walk.
Wow.
But yet everybody wanted to be around her. Everybody wanted to say hey to her, speak to her.
Yeah.
I don't want to speak for you, but now looking back, does that help to answer some of those whys to God? Like, you're asking God why this little girl? Does that, the love that she had for people, or the love that people had for her?
Yeah, I think Kyla definitely influenced lots of lives over the years. Her, the end there definitely was eye opening. As far as all the people that she had touched, right? But before that, I guess the answer why came about. I don't know, 12 years after she was born. She's probably about 12 years old. She was. I told you this a while back, but I know you know. But I'll tell the story. Is that she had a court case, and the judge said that she wasn't allowed to, for sympathy reasons, because she was so disabled that that the court found that, or the court decided that she was that a jury would find too much sympathy for her, and it would not be fair for her to be at her own trial, her own court case. So we appealed that decision. It went before the state appeals court, and it went on to the Georgia State Supreme Court. And at the Georgia State Supreme Court, they ruled. I'm going to paraphrase this, obviously, but the Georgia State Supreme Court made a decision that said that in Kyla's favor, said that every person, every citizen, every person has got a God-given right to be at their own trial, whether that be a civil case or a criminal case or whatever. That no matter how much sympathy that there is, or how disabled a person is, no matter whether they can comprehend the proceedings or not, we don't know exactly what she could and couldn't. Me and Cathy knows that she could, that she could understand, but your normal person wouldn't know. But basically, they said that she has a God-given right to be at her own, to be in a court of law.
Yeah.
Wow.
That in a case that she was involved in.
Yeah.
And so, at that decision, at that moment, is when I said, and it still didn't hit me too much, to be honest with you. But then I started seeing it all over the internet. If you Googled and you searched her last name, or just her name, heck, it was all over the country. Attorneys, law firms all over the country was writing about this Supreme Court, Georgia Supreme Court decision.
Yeah.
Because other states, other places would use Georgia's laws that was upheld in Georgia as for precedents for cases that they're in. So they was using this case, and Kyla all
Wow.
over the place,
Wow.
saying that, hey, if you've been discriminated against or whatever, you now have a right, that there is case law, et cetera, that you can, be at your own trial. And these attorneys all over the country was using this and posting it on their blogs, their websites, and everything else all over the place. And then it's like, holy smokes, she made a difference.
Yeah.
I now see why.
Yeah.
There was a reason
Yeah.
Yeah.
that it took 12 years for me to figure it out, right? There was a lot of reasons before then,
Yeah.
but they just never added up until then.
Yeah.
And that's when I was probably riding down the road, at some point in time on a longer trip, and I was probably, that's when I was like, okay, I understand.
Yeah.
I understand now why,
Wow.
There's other things that go along with that too, that, we used to get nursing care, and, or Kyla used to get nursing care to help her, just because, you can't stay awake 24/7 and watch someone,
Yeah.
because they can aspirate, they can do all these things. And so they was given, she was having nursing care. Well, at first it was like, all right, well, here's 60 hours of nursing care. Well, it took us, I don't know, it took seems to be 6 years or so before we ever knew that nursing care was available, that we could get it for her.
Wow.
That
It
was
was 3.
3 years, but it seemed like 6. Seemed like
Yeah.
10, but anyway, had we known early, she would have had nursing care the first year, right?
Yeah.
So they give us this nursing care, and I think it started out at like 60 hours, A couple years later, yeah, we need to drop it down to 50, and then a couple years later, we need to drop it down more. A couple years later, we need to drop it down more, right? And then finally, it was getting to where, it was getting so low that it was going to be hard, really, to even get a nursing company to supply the nurses at the house for her, because the hours were getting that low, and it was getting to where it just wasn't, So I told Cathy, I said, all right, we're done. We're not going to let them cut it anymore. You're going to fight them. We're going to fight them. We're not doing this.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous. This is wrong.
Yeah.
What they're doing, and so the state was trying to say, oh well, she doesn't have she doesn't need skilled nursing care, right? It could just be anybody. It doesn't. Well, I'm sorry, but no, she needed skilled nursing
Yeah.
care. The only people that could handle it was a lot of the skilled nurses were not qualified. We had to send them packing.
Yeah.
It needed to be skilled nursing care, or Cathy that has
Yeah.
been around her and she raised her, or myself. There was very few people that could be trusted really to be able to know how to handle and how to do things that she needed to survive. And so anyway, we basically, or Cathy did, she started arguing with them, said, no, we're not, we started, and when you file that appeal, the state goes, okay, well, you can file appeal, and we'll keep giving you nursing care, but if you don't win your appeal, then you're going to owe all this money back to the state. So,
Oh, wow.
So, so that's
Intimidating.
Yeah.
That's very intimidating.
Oh, yeah.
People don't want to, they don't, they steer away from that.
Yeah.
Oh, we can't afford, we don't want them to take everything we got because of this, blah blah blah. With the appeal, and I'm like, all right, we're done. We're at the point now that hey, no, something needs to happen. And so we went to she went to court over it, and guess who was in the courtroom?
Yay.
Kyla was in there, right?
Yeah.
Nobody could run her out.
Yeah.
The state got up and they tried their best to say she didn't need nursing care, but guess what happened?
Yeah.
She coughed and she had a big mucus plug and she needed to be suctioned out. Well, court had to stop while Cathy got up and suctioned her out. The judge sat there and looked at her, and eyes huge, wide open, going and looked. I remember her looking back at the state, just shaking her head, going,
Yeah.
how could y'all say that she doesn't need nursing care?
Wow.
She didn't say that, but that was the look on her face
Yeah.
that I saw. and then so shortly after that case, and shortly after that case, the judge found in Kyla's favor
Yes.
that she does need skilled nursing care,
Yes.
and she created a ruling that we believe probably helped a lot of other people in the state of Georgia that was also
Yes.
getting nursing care squashed for their kids.
Well, not only Georgia, but all over the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, in this case, I think it was probably more for Georgia in
Okay.
itself as far
Okay.
as the nursing care. But yeah, I don't. It never went to a higher court.
Yeah.
I don't know that they wanted it to, because if it had, and if it was upheld in a higher, they didn't want to appeal it. But so if it went to a higher court, and if it was upheld, then that would probably not help.
Yeah.
Well, the case of the state trying to reduce nursing hours or change nursing hours to just a caregiver hours is what they wanted to do for them.
So how many hours were they able to give you after that?
I think we was at 36 or 32 or
There was a 36.
36.
Okay.
And that's what we had throughout her life
Okay.
from that point on. And but
Would that kind of be at night so you could sleep, or was it,
It was,
according to their schedule, kind of?
it was mostly during the day, and so sleeping when I was with Kyla was never something that I did a whole lot of. I felt most days if I got around 4 hours of sleep throughout of her life, a day, I felt like I'd hit my mark. And so when other people are here 4 hours a day, that sounds insane. Yes, but then but I was excited about those 4 hours because there were plenty of days where, for instance, one time Kyla had been very sick, and even with the nursing, there were doctor's appointments and things that I was having to handle and working, and at that point we had a bin, and so we had gone to the emergency room, and I think I was somewhere around 36 hours without any sleep at all. And I got Kyla home with the nurse. They were at home, and I had to go pick up prescriptions. And I pull up to the red light there near our home, and I guess I fell asleep. And it was a red light. There was cars in front of me. There was cars behind me. There was cars beside me. And I wake up, and somehow I had managed to keep my foot on the brake, but there were no cars behind me. There were no cars beside me. There were no cars in front of me, and we were back to red light. And I was like, well, either the rapture just happened and everybody got sucked up and it's me,
Yeah.
or I just slept through an entire red light and probably need to go home and get some rest. But yeah, it was, the nursing always didn't, because, it would just give me the opportunity to really, to work on doctor's appointments, to organize medical records, and in order for her insurance to stay, there was lots of paperwork for those things, and so it was that nursing was just for me to be able to go buy groceries for our family
Yeah.
without
Cook dinner every now and then?
yes, cook dinner every now and then, and so but I the nurse that I was very fortunate to get, I remember the day, because there were so many nurses. They would say, oh, there's going to be a nurse that's going to train with you, and then they would never show, or things like that. And it was actually about to snow that day. I think it was starting to snow. And I called the nursing agency and I said, this person is not going to show, if the roads are getting bad, it's going to be a rough day. And they said, okay, we'll reschedule. And then that truck pulls up in my yard. And I don't know that I've ever told her just how important that moment was for me in my life, even though it was just a day that she pulled up on a job site. And the moments that she has been there for me and Kyla and how close that they had become and how when they were together, they were, Kyla was, that was her cool friend because Kyla just didn't get to have a lot of cool, independent friends of her own. And so whenever there were moments that the two of them could be away from me, that made Kyla so happy. They would go off on their adventures and
They would leave the house.
they would leave the house.
Oh, wow.
And as a matter
I
of
don't
fact,
think you're supposed to tell that.
well, I think at this point they were probably not supposed to leave the house,
That
but
was
they
after
would.
hours. That was after
Yeah, that
There
was
you go.
after hours. But Gianna was the nurse's name, and when we had Ben, Kyla stayed with her, and in order for us to be
Anything
able,
ever happened, she was the first person I would call.
Yeah.
yeah,
Even, the night that, that she ended up passing, I called her first
Yeah.
before anybody. She was, she wound up, she's become Kathy's best friend, great friend of mine. I mean, just really a very, very close friend of the family. But,
Yeah.
it's funny how these things work out and, these, and you wind up with what, starts out as just, it's a nurse coming over to help, with the support of the child, winds up becoming a really good friend,
Yeah.
much, much, much more than a,
Yeah.
Yeah.
a nurse.
Well, and you had mentioned earlier just how, having, just those circumstances and you didn't have friends or people who really understood what you were going through. And you were talking about like just that whole community opening up, and can you tell a little bit about that, just far as ESP
Yeah, so-
and
So yeah, just so people know, and it's very isolating when you have a child with special needs, especially as new parents, new people. We're 24 years old. We now have a special needs child. We have nothing in common with our friends that we've had. Our lives didn't just change with our daughter being born. Our lives changed with everything. It was everybody changed in our life. Those friends that we had that we thought we wanted to hang out with and things of that nature, they're gone. They're nowhere to be found. You don't have anything in common with them. They're not coming over. They're not helping out. They're not there for you. You really see who your family is. You really see who your close friends are and things of that nature. And so, for us, and I know Cathy was the same way. I mean, that she definitely struggled with, depression because of those things and everything that we went through and all this, all that happened. But yeah, the friendships and all those things. So for me, the only thing I had was my, either my employees or my, people that we work for or contractors and people out in public and things of that nature. But the rest of it, you didn't have friends. People wasn't inviting you over for dinner. And even if they did, we didn't know how we was going to get our daughter in and out of there. We didn't know, did they have cats? Did they have dogs? Or is she going to have issues being able to breathe in their house? Blah, 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 all these things. So you just really, really get isolated. So yeah, that was definitely, it just really compounded all the things that you're going through as a special needs parent. And it wasn't until, so I come home one day, several years later. I don't know how old was Kyla, maybe 8, 9, or
she would have been 10, or coming up on 10.
so coming up on 10 years old. So Cathy had taken her to this place, over in Watkinsville called, ESP. And, at the time I was like, oh, okay, all right, well, let me know how it goes. I'm going to work, right? And then, hey, how'd it go? Well, I think she had a good time. Okay. That's all I know. I had no clue what they was doing over there. They was in a little bitty gym, over off VFW Drive. And I was like, okay, so So, I don't know. I guess probably a year or so, right down, a couple of years. I don't know how long exactly you was taking her over there. And it wasn't like Kyla was able to go over there much because she was always sick. She always had some sort of respiratory issues, something of that nature. But when Cathy could get her over there, she was taking her over there. So, but I come home one day and Cathy says, "Hey, I'm going to," and she was just really excited. And that's the first time I've seen Cathy excited in years. She said, "Hey, I'm going to enter Kyla into a pageant." I'm like, "You're going to do what?" "Yeah, I'm going to enter Kyla into pageant. ESP's going to have this pageant, and I'm going to put her in the pageant. Blah blah blah. I'm already picking out outfits. I'm already doing this and blah blah blah." I'm like, "Okay, go for it."
Yeah.
I don't know what to say. It's like, great. I have no clue what she's talking about. And so it's like it went on for months. She was getting ready for this pageant. Hey, what do you think about this outfit? What do you think about this outfit? Blah blah blah. Here, I think I'm going to get her hair like this. Well, I bought this bow for her. I bought this. What do you think about these shoes? I'm going to put her in these shoes. I'm going to do this. We'll do that. And I'm like, okay, whatever. Yeah, all right, go for it.
Yeah.
And so we went to so the big day come and we go, and she drags me down there to this pageant. Not my mind is always thinking 24/7 about work usually at this point in time because I got to make sure I can feed the family.
Yeah.
And she drags me to this pageant, and I'm sitting in there, and it's like, okay, and they get these kids up there on stage, and man, and it's just like you start seeing all these different special needs that has their own abilities. They all have abilities. They don't have disabilities. They have different abilities.
Yeah.
And they have the ability to do things that we don't do. And they have the ability to bring smiles on people's faces like you've never seen. And they're whether it's a kid playing a banjo or whether it's a kid in a kissing booth or whatever it is, that these kids are making things their own, and these parents are out there and they're cheering for their kids, and it's like, okay, wow, this is cool, and then here comes Kyla. She comes out there and they've got her doing her thing, and the first time in my life, I was actually able to cheer for my child. I had never cheered for my child, did not know what that was like, had never been around it, had never seen it, because we didn't have anybody younger than her, and at the time Ben was not here. Ben was not born, so we
He was born.
he was born. He was just
Not
a
old
baby.
enough to cheer for.
Yeah, he was. Yeah,
He was
he
too
was
little
little
for
guy.
be playing football or anything for me to cheer. But the fact that I could stand up and yell and holler and clap and praise her and cheer for her, it was like, oh my gosh. And it was like, all right, that's it. I'm sold.
Yeah.
I love ESP just as much as my wife does now, and so that was it. And then the people.
Excuse me, what was Kyla's reaction there? Did she love it?
Oh,
What-
she did.
Like, how did she express herself?
She loved it so much, and as a matter of fact, I would, and this happened quite a few times during the years that she did Big Hearts. Was that so? They gave you a ribbon that that you were in a pageant, and so she had a little a ribbon and a crown, and so that night, like, we slept in full dress, crown, ribbon, all the things with her hair up. We couldn't touch it. She was so determined. That it was, she wanted to stay because she wanted that moment to live on.
Yeah.
But things that, like, it's so funny that we both lived the same moments, but in so many ways we saw it from two very different perspectives. And because that year, Ben was 3, I think, if I'm not mistaken, and it was the crash of 2008. We were broke. And so
broke.
we were broke.
We know the feeling.
And
Did you own a construction company at that time?
yes,
Or
Well, at that time, I had a electrical company.
Okay.
We was wiring houses for
Okay.
lots of builders. I was also building. I had 3 subdivisions I was developing, and you know, I don't know, maybe 10 or 12 houses that I was also building, speculative building. And yeah, it was not good.
Yeah. And so, you know, the things that, you know, talking about Kyla and how she touched people is that I told, you know, at this time, Facebook was just a little bit going on. And so I said, you know, we're going to do this pageant. And we really didn't have the money for a dress and to have her hair done and all the things. And my mom calls me up and she says, hey, a friend, I was telling them about the pageant and things like that. They have a dress and it's so beautiful and they want you to have it. And I still have that dress to this day. And then a girl that does hair calls me up and said, hey, I hear you're all going to do the pageant. And I would love to do Kyla's hair. And so there were all these amazing moments of people that saw our daughter, loved our daughter, and 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 she, even though never once uttered a single word, she had a testimony of her resilience and her life that people just came to her, and so it was always those amazing things, and the things that, you know, he probably doesn't even know about, in that, you know, in my fear of releasing her to have these moments, and probably in that I had a lot of discussions with God about the fact that I was incredibly fearful of her, you know, like, what if I was out of control? And 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 so it was that it was later on, actually after she passed, that I talked to another mother, and how, because she was a special needs mom, and her son had passed, and it was kind of like this very wonky like moment of that she had created all of these barriers and all of these things so that she would always be in control of this little guy's life. And she said it was almost as if God, like, just quietly took all those barriers away to take him home, and because he knew that if I, you know, he had to make it so that I couldn't fix that moment, and I had to live through that moment, because there always had to be that proof that he was still in control of everything. And and that was in the moment that she was no longer with us, and in the moments that I was sitting in ERs thinking that I was going to be losing her, or in surgeries, brain surgeries and things. And he was always the one that was in control, and it wasn't until after she was gone that I realized that all of those moments that I thought, if I do this and if I stretch myself this much further and if I did this a little bit harder, I was the one that was in control and I can continue to be in control. But it really was not. And in the moments that I lost her, I had to also realize that, you know, this was how it was meant to be. Like, from the beginning, God saw that all these things were going to play out, because and going back to, you know, the start in ESP, I was terrified, and the ED of at the time of at ESP she'd say, Cathy, you cannot sit out here in this car in this sweltering heat all day long in July for your daughter to go to camp. She's going to be fine. She has her nurse. Everything is going to be great. And I go, oh, okay, yes, thank you so much. And I just like drive, and I'd go park where she couldn't see me, but I would stay. And But in those moments, Kyla was off having her life and enjoying her life, um, and 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 being around people and people falling in love with her, and she was seeing what it was like to be away from us, and I one of the last things that the last year of her life, she I had this crazy moment where I signed her up for overnight camp. And I went down there, it was a Saturday night, and I said to Ross, Ross, I've screwed up so bad I can't believe I have signed this child up for overnight camp. We can't do it. And he said, no worries, call them on Monday and they'll take you, and you ain't got nothing to worry about. And so I didn't know they had caller ID. So I call, and one of the guys answers, and it's, with ESP,
Is that
and he's
Jake?
Jake answers, and Jake Sapp, and he says, before you say a word, I need you to know that there are no takebacks. And I said, what are you talking? And he said, everybody already knows what you did Saturday night.
Did you call?
No.
Did I? No.
No, I have a
He
feeling
knew
that
you.
it come up, and it was kind of talk of the town, because I had always said she was never going to do overnight camp.
Yeah. I think looking back on it, I could be wrong here, but I think Kyla may have probably been the most complex that they had most complex for an overnight camp that ESP had, and so I think it was when Cathy signed her up, I think it was like, oh my gosh, and I think they was probably a little nervous and excited as well, and they went into planning mode. Hey, we're going to do this, right?
Was this one of their nurses already on staff, or was this
They
her personal
had
nurse?
nurses that were on staff, but
they give you buddies.
yeah,
Okay.
you had buddies, and so it was literally college students that were going to be with her. And so I told Jake, I said, Jake, no, we're not going to do this. This is kind of crazy. This is beyond. And so he said, well, we have several months. Let's just let it kind of simmer. And so she went. She ended up going. And
Where was you?
In the parking lot?
I did. I have never
In your
camped a day
tent?
in my life. I camped outside of camp.
She got somebody to bring her the Gianna, Kyla's nurse, our friend now. Gianna's, someone in her family had a camper that they brought over there, and they parked it and put it in a place across the lake.
Okay, did
From where
ESP know that you were there?
Not at first.
Not at first.
Did Kyla know you were there?
Kyla did know that I was there,
Okay,
but she was like, as long as I wasn't going to be with
Yeah,
her,
yeah.
she could,
So she could still enjoy herself.
yes. And so,
And I'm at home going, that ain't right. That's Cathy's. Cathy's over there stalking. She should just stay at
I
home.
did.
But yeah, she stayed on the other side of the lake, and she could hear them singing the camp songs over there. She wanted to be really close.
And so this was at the campsite. Okay, so this is not in Oconee County.
No.
This is
Right. This was at their overnight camp.
and it was nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was really
Well,
okay.
Yes.
So yeah.
and so I.
A whole week of overnight
It was
camp.
it was the entire week. It
Oh,
was
it was a whole
Sunday to
week.
Yeah,
Friday.
so we're so
Oh.
Cathy was giving up Kyla for a week.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if she'd ever given her up more than one night.
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
so
it is.
it's a week that she. So yeah, she was.
Yeah.
Cathy's never camped a day in her life, and she's over there
Yeah.
hanging out.
Were
in
you
her
planning
RV.
for the whole week, or just one night at a
No,
time?
I was fully prepared to be
She
there
had
for
a
that.
camper,
Stocked
right?
camper.
Yeah,
and-
and
She
I
had a
did.
camper. You talking about one night?
I had a camper, and I had binoculars, and they caught me stalking a couple of times trying to get close to camp, And I would get across the lake, and Ben was with me a couple of those days, and he'd go, Mama, this is not what normal people do, because I was over there with my binoculars trying to see her. Like, is she okay? Is everything okay? And I get a text message, and it's from her buddy, and she said, I figure asking for forgiveness was going to be a whole lot easier than asking for permission. And it's a video of Kyla ziplining across camp. And she's just squealing her little head off and like laughing. And and I know those people. She wore them out 10 times over that week.
She never. I don't think Kyla ever went to sleep, and so
Yeah.
we saw pictures later on of Kyla's buddy. Her name is Mackenzie, right?
Yes.
And so Mackenzie is laying there in the gym floor or on the gym bleacher or something, holding Kyla's hand. And Kyla's just wide awake, and she's over there just just
Loving it.
passed out sleeping.
And the things that Kyla was the MC for Big Hearts one year. Her talking device was, and so she got to do all these amazing things. These people that wanted to be a part of her life. Janet took her with her husband for a motorcycle ride. She rode motorcycles. She rode on slides. She did so many
She
of
got the
these.
tube down the river in Helen.
She tubed down the river in Helen, and she went to overnight camp. And in my mom mind, when I pick her up for overnight camp, I thought she's going to be like so ready to see me. Like, thank goodness you're back, Mom. Let's go home and all. And she looked at me and immediately just started sobbing and telling me no, because she had like she would shake her head for no and she would blink for yes, and she just said no, no. And I'd say, baby girl, everybody is leaving. Camp is over. And she just sobbed all the way home because of like those normal moments in her life.
Yeah.
And so it really, it made me understand that there were so many people that were there for her and put in her life so that she could shine, so that it wasn't me that was making her special, and it was her on her own that made her special. And so I realized that even though things could be, there were times that were very hard in our life, but we had a community of people around that loved her, that loved us, and I can always say that she taught her brother more about being a good human than we could have if we had 40 years to work on him, because of the fact that he learned very early on that life can be really tough, and life can throw you some pretty tough curveballs, but if you have each other, and if you have your community, and if you have your faith, then you can survive all those tough spots. And sometimes it's about what you give to the next person, rather than in a world that is so very me oriented. It's very me oriented, that when you truly get the blessings in your life is when you realize that it's no longer about you. It's what you can can you smile at someone? Can you give grace? And because there's been many times, and going back to when you would come and pump out our septic tank, there were times in those moments that I had already been dealing with doctors on those days, and the septic tank was just like a part of what our day problems were. And you would come in and you would smile and you'd say hello, and you'd be like, "We're gonna get you going. Everything's gonna be great." And
Yeah.
you don't know what a smile can do for someone that's having a tough day.
Yeah, who would have thought that a guy that pumps out septic tanks would show up with a freaking smile on his face, ready to pass joy along to the next person, right? I mean, that's just it. That was amazing to me when Antonio would show up and he was smiling and he man, life was great for him, and I'm like, I'm sitting there thinking, well, he's pumping out septic tanks. But then it didn't take me but just one time of seeing that to know that, you know what, I need to be really grateful of what I'm doing. I mean, it's a, this guy gets to meet all these people, and he gets to pass on,
Yeah.
his learn about people, and it's just, like Cathy said, passing that smile along to someone, and helping them in their time of need, is definitely
Sharing your testimony.
testimony.
All of
Everything.
those things.
Yeah.
It is you are living the moment of, just because, like this moment it may be a tough moment. It does not mean that it's, it does not have to define me. The tough moments are the tough moments, and we go through them, and there's a lot of lessons to learn in the tough moments. But if you take that tough moment and you sit back and you look, then even in pumping out septic tanks, like the people that you got to meet, that you showed up at their home and they were in a really bad place, and when you left their home, then they felt there was relief.
Yeah.
And so it's just it it goes to show that if you just take the time to look around and be thankful for the blessings that you have, and for the good things, that that you're actually a very, very, we're all very blessed.
Yeah.
And we were very blessed.
Yeah,
We were blessed to have a special needs child that taught us a lot about medical that we probably didn't want to know or needed
yeah,
to
100%.
know.
I mean, it was all about, as was talking about, it was about us. Before she was born, it was us.
Yeah.
We were selfish. I'd be, before she was born, I would be riding up the road and I'm thinking about me, what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
What can I do? How can I get, how can I make money? How can I do this? What did people think about me? What, all the things, it was all about me. I was very selfish, right? But then after she was born, it's like, all right, I'm not, I mean, it was a big change.
Yeah.
It was no longer can you be selfish,
Yeah.
I didn't have the option anymore, to be selfish. But it really it changed us for the better. And and like we was talking about having the community, the community with the special needs community, and the parents and the things that we've been able to get back from them. It has been great. We still have those close friendships with the special needs community. I mean, we was on a cruise ship a few weeks ago with them, and now we're kind of we're in a different place in our life than they are, but we still they're still our family.
Yeah.
They're still our community.
Yeah.
We relate to them. They relate to us, and we love everything about it.
Well, I like to say, you guys have made me a part of that community, and it's just because I've been to ESP, at the camp, different places. You had me come in and do work, pump the tank, and different things like that. But just meeting the people, I can remember like y'all did donations and different things like that, and gave. And I remember one time just having us, the family, the kids, watching ESP, like watching the pageant, and tried to do that, every year they had it after that. But just watching the pageant and just it helped change me, and I can just remember like even one seeing Ross at the business meetings, he's joy bubbly, laughing, joking, and but when I had an opportunity to come to your house, I seen a whole new world, and it was just like, always washing clothes, the nurses, and just everything had to be cleaned so much to where the tank could never recover, and it rained, different things like that. And I got to see another side of, you, Ross, and it was just like, it was really, really convicting, and humbling, and it's just like, man, and it just made me really thankful, have gratitude, and just thanking God for you, because in a lot of ways you've helped change me. Just if I'd have never come to your house, I would have never known all the challenges that you guys were dealing with and having to work through, and it really made a difference in my life. And I can remember one day I was there and you was like, hey, you want to meet Kyla? And I was like, yeah. And so, she was in her room, and you went and opened up the window, and I had a chance to speak to her. I was like, where I was hooking up the water spigot, right there at the bushes where the room were and all that.
That's
and,
right.
Had a conversation with her, and just having that, the people we meet, moment with her, and it was just so joyful. And then seeing all the things that y'all have done with ESP, and just how y'all help develop it, and how y'all have given over the years. I remember even Ross took, my middle daughter, to one of the meetings. She was in, like trained to be in interior design, and he took her to one like this major meeting and sit in, and I think she was with you for like 3 weeks, like internship, and,
Yeah.
and you guys have had a tremendous impact on my family, and I'm still trying to get everybody, like where we're gonna, get to ESP and basically get involved in different things like that.
Well, I mean, so now, I mean, we still obviously we talk about ESP a lot, but that was it still is for me. I mean, we're still heavily involved in it. Probably me so more than Cathy now, but she's involved with Georgia Options. She's a which Georgia Options is kind of the place, maybe that a lot of people after ESP, as they are adults, because there's sides of the world that we never kind of knew about, right? We always knew about, hey, we're mom and dad with a special needs child, right? What about when those special needs childs get to be full grown, and their parents are no longer able to take care of them?
Yeah.
They're no longer able to handle them. They're no longer able to provide the care that they need for them. What options do they have, right? They have okay, there's a nursing home.
Yeah.
But I mean, Cathy's got something about the nursing home thing that she tells people about. What is it? They don't know your favorite.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is that, as a special needs adults, nursing homes, they're taking care of so many people that, they have no time to know your favorite color. What's your favorite movie? What's your favorite thing to do? And that's me, when I'm working now with Georgia Options, and the fact that I have the ability to be there for an adult, because I think, Kyla would have been one of these, adults that wanted to live on her own, wanted to have a life outside of us. And so, I think that I've always needed to continue the things that she was able to start for me.
Yeah.
And on the tough days that when you're at work and you're just like, ugh, this is tough days, there's that little voice in my head that, Kyla telling me, these are my people. This is my community.
Yeah.
And for you, what you do for them is important because it's important to me. And so it means the world to me, and to still be a part, and to see all of the faces that Kyla grew up with, and to still love on them. And
But that organization is helping them take care of people 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that they provide them with a direct support professional, and they're a nonprofit. They help them live in their own home or their own apartment, et cetera, so that they don't have to live in a nursing home.
Yeah.
They don't have to be institutionalized.
Yeah.
Right. Nobody deserves that. Nobody should have to do that unless you want to, right? But just because, if I was a 30-year-old special needs, person, and my parents are, 60, 70 years old, and they can't care for me anymore, does that mean I need to go to a nursing home?
Yeah.
right.
That's not fair.
Right.
It's not fair to these kids.
Right.
These kids have dignity. They have their own, they still, even though they have different abilities than what we have, they are still a part of the community.
Yeah.
Don't put them to me, putting them into, institutionalizing them, they want to say you're not doing that anymore, but to me that's really what it is when they go to a nursing home and they have to just stay in a room and a bed all day and those things. But when they're able to live in their own home and they have a direct support professional, they have people that is with them that become their friends, their buddies, if you will. They're there with them all day, every day, to 24/7 care, 3 different, 2 or 3 different people that would come in different shifts, and helping them with their meds, and going out and getting groceries and things of that nature, making sure that they're able to live their daily life, just as we would want to live ours.
Yeah.
Making
Right.
choices. And,
That's right.
Yeah.
Make their own choices. Do I want to go outside today, or do I want to stay inside? Do I want to go sit by the pool? Do I want to go swimming? Do I want to go to the grocery store?
Yeah.
Or is this, I just want to sit on the couch and be by myself today? And these direct, Georgia Options is giving them the ability to do that now, and that's something that Cathy is, she's she's grabbed a hold to, and she's running with it. So.
Can you give us maybe a story of just somebody that comes to mind that you've helped recently that maybe was living with parents but wanted to live independently?
Well, we're always working with people to grow their ability to become independent. I could tell you of one thing that was, and it actually would be something that y'all really know a lot about, is that we have a individual named Darren, and I have actually known Darren since I was 5 years old, and I always it was kind of funny because
And I've known him since I was 17, 18 years
and
old.
so we grew
to
up in
church.
church together.
Yeah.
And
Hokey
something
Talent.
that I didn't, it did not really even occur to me until much later in life, was that, my dad made sure that Darren, who had autism, was an active member of the youth, and was, welcoming him into, and when we went to Six Flags, when all the youth, he made sure Darren was able to go to Six Flags. And now he did make my mom ride all the roller coasters with Darren because he didn't want to. But if Darren wanted to ride roller coasters, then they were going to ride roller coasters. And so Darren is a die hard Georgia fan. Like, good, bad, or ugly, Darren is going to be there for the team. And
Hold on a second. Before you tell them this side of Darren, I want to tell you one thing that we realized. So Kyla was, her burial ground, the cemetery is at the church that Darren attends, right? It's the church that me and Cathy attend. Cathy was, grew up in, and we had not been there in years, right? And it's really difficult to get to church and do those things when after Kyla was born, but we had not been there in a long time, and so we was up there, and we had the funeral and all that, and the funeral was over, and we went back, I don't know, a few weeks later or something like that. We was up there at the gravesite, for visiting, and Darren come walking out of the church, and I have not seen him, like, I don't know, it seems like 15, 20 years probably. If I did, I just saw him somewhere over in Danielsville or something. And but anyway, he come walking out of the church, and he stood out there. Me and Cathy was sobbing, thinking about Rosie and all that, and Darren's looking out across there, and was just staring at us. He had not seen us in years, but he was sitting there staring at us, and you could tell. I mean, it was a very spiritual moment, and I actually wrote it down, or I got Cathy to write it down, and it's sitting on my desk now. And this moment came from Darren, believe it or not, the guy you now know who he is, right? Is it says I think it says something like you think you're here to show people, or it was something about the how the angels are basically, how we think we're here to help people like Darren, right? But when it's actually people like Darren that is helping people like us.
Amen.
Oh, wow.
Amen.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
I don't have that actual writing, but that is essentially.
When you get a chance, will you take a picture and
Yes,
text that to us?
I will.
I love that.
I will. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
paraphrasing what it says, but anyway, I just saw it on my desk again the other day. But because I told Cathy, write that down when we left there, what she said. But it basically was about Darren looking at us, and it was like God basically put him right there as an autistic kid, a special needs kid, sat there, and he knew what we was going through. He knew that was I feel like he knew that was a fellow special needs kid that we had.
Yeah.
Right? And then so later, he saw us somewhere, and he's like, yep, Arlen, which is Cathy's dad. He knew Arlen. He said, Arlen, yep, Arlen. He said, Kyla.
Oh.
Kyla. And he knew Kyla, knew her name, and so he knew all these things about her, and you could tell just the sympathy and the love that he was pouring out across that parking lot and portraying to us as we sat by the grave there with visiting Kyla's gravesite. He was just it was like a peace that you never know.
Yeah.
But it was so peaceful, and it was like God had put one of His angels right there to watch over us while we was grieving.
Yeah.
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 So sorry.
No, no. I
that
mean,
that was years ago, right after Kyla passed, and
Yeah.
then now Cathy goes to work at Georgia Options, and Darren is at Georgia Options.
and I didn't know. I think it was my second day on the job, and I was in my office, and then I heard his voice because I was like, "Is that Darren?" I was talking to the executive director, and she said, "Oh yes, how do you know Darren?" And I said, "Oh, I grew up with Darren. I've spent my life with Darren, and so you know, he always he has to bring gifts of Georgia football to us, to really anybody that he sees. He always has like some kind of trinkets or magazines or something that he needs to share with everybody around him. And so we said early on, you know, we would love to get somebody a football signed or get something for for Darren, and so it all came about with David and I'm gonna and with Zachariah Branch and he carries that football all the time. Like it means that is his prized possession. And how excited he was when he got to see the video of Zachariah, you know, specifically for him, and it brightened up his day so much. He was so excited, and so, you know, there again, it is a community that when even on the weeks that if we lose, if heaven forbid Georgia loses a game, he's like, "That was a tough one. Kirby's gonna get it right next time. He gonna be fine. We're all gonna be fine. We got a team, don't we?" And so he's, you know, so the community around him poured into him what he pours into everyone around him every day. And so I am so very, very thankful. Those are the kind of moments that when and it's and to somebody else that may, well, you know, you can, a football is a football, and, you know, a name is a name. It is what, you know, it was just a moment.
Yeah.
But the it just means so much when I see someone pour into the community and then the community pours back in. And to refill your vessel of what you give away. And that those things always just, it warms my heart so much to see that.
And I wish we could have gotten the ball to him before the party.
I know.
You know, and it was misunderstanding, you know, like
Yeah.
different things like that. And but I was hoping to get the ball to you, you know, before the party, and it didn't work out that
Yeah.
way. But
Well, but you know what? The party was wild and fun and Christmas for everyone, and so it was kind of quiet, and it was all about him at that moment, and the place was alive with Darren.
So you remember the you know when Darren received that and he was watching the video, he started saying, "Zachariah, he's tall, right? He tall."
Yeah.
Right? He just kept saying he tall.
yeah,
So when we was at the house, we had several friends over at the house for the SEC championship game. And every time Zachariah would get the ball and do something great with it, we all would start jumping up and down, and we was all hollering, "He tall, he tall."
I know. I have a feeling that Darren's probably taller than Zachariah. But in Darren's mind, Zachariah is probably about 7 feet tall.
Yeah.
Can
And
he jump high? Is that why? Can he
well,
jump
but
high?
I mean, to a lot of Georgia football fans, Zachariah, he's tall. You know, I
Yeah.
mean, just
Right.
you know
Yes.
what he did, you know.
Yes.
Yeah,
And,
yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
but you know, but when you see him standing amongst all the other Georgia
Yeah.
players, he looks as tall as I am, which is
Yeah.
very very short. He's probably pushing 6 foot, I guess. I don't know how tall he is.
Yeah.
But it's just it's that is what started coming over my house all night was he tall.
Yeah.
Every time
Yeah.
he'd do something good, we was
Yeah.
like, he's tall.
But
Yes.
that just goes to show that it you never know, and maybe there'll be a moment later on that will come full circle for Zachariah, in that it was just an average day. It was literally, a few minutes of a quick video and signing something for another person, but those gifts,
Yeah.
and there may be, and he's very young. He's such a young guy,
Yeah.
and he doesn't, and he hasn't really had the life experiences
Yeah.
to know what that moment did for another person.
Well, I'm going to share it with him, and I mean, like even when he did the video, I mean, he was all into it, and just, hey, what can I do? You need to make it longer. I mean, basically, he was like giving, when
Yeah.
like, because me and David presented it to him, like he was willing to do it, wanted to do it, and so when I show him this video, it's going to mean even much more to him.
Yes,
Yeah.
he was. What he did was something that I am incredibly, incredibly thankful for, because, like Darren, he's a very simple guy, and for something like that to be poured into Darren, it means so much to me, because it's like we have talked about before. It's a community.
Yeah.
And
Well,
to
now
show
it
that
sounds like
love.
you have a mother's heart for Darren too. So it's the same love
Yes.
you had for Kyla now, and you see people acknowledging Darren and loving him,
I
and
think
so it just
I think it's a love for really all those with special
Yeah.
needs,
Yeah.
right? I mean, we had no clue who the special needs community was
right.
before Kyla was was brought into the world.
Oh,
But
yeah.
now
Yeah.
it's like, all right, now,
Your eyes are open.
yeah,
Yes.
ours open. We
Wow.
we have, I think I can speak for both of us that we have that love for all of them.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You do. Well, I mean, just because, I mean, y'all have been so involved that it's just like you just introduce other people. When you think about the BNI business group, everybody got involved and have been involved in one way or another, with ESP because of you guys. And I mean, you're always doing something, and it was like, I want to do more. I want to get more involved because I've been around you, and it's impacted my life. And I'm trying to impact my family now, my kids, and just letting them know, how good we really do have it, and just trying to make that community even bigger, and like just even now, for all those that are out there going through struggles, hard times that don't have that community, that's what we're trying to do is like let them know you can be a part of this, do that,
Yeah.
and one thing that you'd want to say to people out there or someone that's going through raising and a kid, different things like that, special needs, what would you want to say to someone out there that's like raising, don't know, like, just
I think probably the biggest thing is that what really it seems like this has been kind of the main topic today is that it's about find your community. You don't have to do it alone.
yeah,
Right? You don't have to take the world on alone by yourself. Find a community. There's other people that have shared your situation, that has been in your situation. That is going through things that are very similar to what you're going through. Just like when two people when you have a typical kid and they go to football and there's other sets of parents that have a typical kid and they go to football, right? Now you share a bond and the two of you can talk about football together, right? Or your kids playing football and you can talk talk smack about the coach or whatever you wanted to talk about. Well, it's the same way for any situation you're going in, not just the special needs, but I really think it's all communities. So no matter what trials, what kind of things that you're faced with, find a community that has the same that is going through what you are,
Yeah.
and so that you don't have to do it alone.
Yeah.
So that you can get, so that you can get help.
Yeah.
So that you don't feel like you're, so you're not isolated. So you don't have to go through, depression and everything else. That's easier said than done. But there is communities out there that can help you, and they're not, and just because we're talking about a community doesn't mean that you're calling somebody to ask for help, but just find other people that have a special needs child. Find a program that works with special needs children so that you can get involved with them,
Yeah.
which in return is going to help you make friends, and it's going to help you grow as a person, you grow as a parent, because you're going to learn from them.
Yeah.
They learn from you. That's what it's about,
Yeah.
learning.
Yeah.
I mean, if we had not found that other community, or that community, or our community, we would have been so far behind.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have found out that there was nursing care available. We wouldn't have found out about these different types of waivers and these other things and these other programs, these other things that can help. Just find your community. That's what I would have to say.
Yeah.
I would have to piggyback off of that, in that, finding where you feel belonging and love, and if you are out there and you see someone that is struggling, it's not about fixing.
Yeah.
It's not about, I'm not here to tell you how to manage your problems. It's about, if you need me to sit quietly with you and not say a word, be that person for someone else. And always be open to show kindness and gratitude, because you don't know where that is going to multiply for another person.
Yeah.
And so we have been shown so much love and so much kindness over the years. I could, if we had 50 podcasts, I could probably fill them up with different opportunities. Even in the fact that my current executive director where I work was the first person that, when we came home from the hospital with Kyla, she called me up and she said, "You have no idea who I am. I just know that y'all are in Madison County, and I'm here. I have a child that's older, and so now I work in a place that I get to see her daughter, and pour love into her daughter, and see her thriving as an adult, and that makes me feel, very special to just be a fly on the wall for those moments.
Yeah.
And if you definitely need to find your community, find where you feel you make a difference. But then also, if people were wanting to pour into you, you need to pour into others.
Yeah.
That's very important.
This has been amazing. Thank you guys for your vulnerability.
Well, I
not-
told
I
you
know
it
it's
was
not
going
easy.
to take a while to get through all this, but
Yes.
it looks like it's getting dark outside now. So
Did you hear thunder yet?
I know. Anyway, just thank you guys for
Yes.
having us, and it's our first podcast, so this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Seeing all these spotlights, you feel like you're famous or
Yeah.
something. Sitting here, right?
You might be in
Yeah.
just a week or so.
Who knows? But no,
Yes.
it's very cool. Thank
Well,
you.
we really appreciate you guys coming. This has been such a blessing. And
Well, you know, and it's like we always are telling people, you know, as Christians, we want to get out and help build the community, you know, in whatever way we can. And I know, like, you guys have done so much in the community and still are, you know, and it's just like this podcast is going to help build a community or that community even more.
Yeah.
And I just thank both of you for your testimonies and all that y'all are doing. I mean, you guys have helped me, you know, in so many different personal ways, my family, and it's just like it's a two-way street. We thank you guys
Yeah.
for everything.
Thank you so
Yes,
We appreciate it.
yes.
but thank you again for watching The People We Meet. And please do like and subscribe and share with your friends.
And I would want to say, if you want to give, you know, feel free. What was it again?
Georgia Options.
How can they get in touch with you?
You can reach out to us through Google, or we have our website, Georgia Options, to get more information, or look me up and email me.
Is that
and
GeorgiaOptions.org? Or?
GeorgiaOptions.org. GeorgiaOptions.org.
And what about ESP?
So that website is espyoundme.org. That's all spelled out, espyoundme.org. And so they have links. There's several different ways to get involved with ESP, whether you're looking to donate or you're looking to join and volunteer, or have a family member you'd like to sign up.
And I really like the name Extra Special People, what ESP stands for.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It says it all, doesn't
It
it?
really is. Yeah.
Yes,
It
definitely.
definitely does.
And there's events for ESP that's coming up in the next few weeks. And then Georgia Options has their annual event on March 7. So,
Nice.
Gala fundraiser.
Okay.
yes.
So
Did y'all hear that out there? Yes.
February and March, both big
Yes.
events at ESP and Georgia Options.
So look it up and help out.
Thank you.